It was about 1903 or 4 that the state, 1906, that the state of Washington funded a capital budget for armories. 3 were planned to start with: Seattle, Spokane, and Tacoma. Actually, Spokane's got built first, and Seattle's and Tacoma's came in about together, just about the 1st of January, 1909. And what's interesting to me, and what I think needs to be noted tonight, is that this is one of the few buildings within the National Guard, even within the state, that has had a continuous usage for 100 years for the same purpose by the same state organization. And that is something to be intensely proud of, and to make sure people understand. Because it's not just a place for the Guard, it's a place for the city. This armory, as you heard from the mayor, probably better than I could relate, was the site of many civic events. It was the site of large gatherings when distinguished guests came to town. It was a place for competition, for spectacle. And then in the cities, visionary leaders, civic leaders, political leaders came together and said, number one, we're going to start by reforming government. We're going to make it more effective. We're going to make it less corrupt. And then number two, we're going to use government to make our city a better place to live. And the result was a tremendous movement to improve the environment of the city. It was called the City Beautiful movement. Systems of urban infrastructure and amenities, to use kind of a fancy phrase, were developed from New York City and Boston to Seattle and Tacoma. These involved public transit systems, public utility systems, waste disposal, sewage systems that actually cleaned up the city, parks, libraries, symphony orchestras, art museums, and other cultural venues. Ballparks were built. A couple of them still stand. Ever heard of Fenway? Wrigley Field, part of the urban renewal movement that I'm talking about in Boston and Chicago, respectively. And cities built armories. They built them as civic centers, like you heard the mayor describe this structure. And at those armories, people of the city came together for all sorts of events, sporting events, musical events, dances, parades, and so on. That track that we've been following of the redevelopment of America's cities included a commitment to building National Guard armories.
Because mayors have the authority to issue what is called special proclamations, and so I'm going to issue one and share it with you and present it to the Colonel. And it reads as follows. Whereas the Tacoma, Washington National Guard Armory has stood strong as a fortress of honor and strength since its dedication on January 1st, 1909, and whereas the Armory has garrisoned thousands of soldiers throughout the years in their training and support of 2 world wars, numerous conflicts, and humanitarian missions around the globe, and whereas the Armory has stood as a watchtower for natural disasters and a solid launching pad for soldiers within to assist their neighbors in times of need, and whereas the community members have always been able to use the Armory as a civic auditorium, hosting events such as boxing leagues, basketball tournaments, indoor baseball leagues, graduation ceremonies, social gatherings, and even the starting grounds for the festivities for the 181st birthday of Washington State. And whereas visiting dignitaries, including 4 standing U.S. presidents, have visited and given speeches inside this building, the Armory. Now there, I, Bill Barsman, Mayor of the City of Tacoma, on behalf of the City Council, do hereby proclaim January 2009 as State Armory Month in Tacoma and encourage all citizens to join with us as we celebrate the 100th anniversary of this unique building and its historic significance to our community. Colonel. Well, you know, it was the center of activity in Tacoma for many, many years. It was an athletic arena. It's where the University or College of Puget Sound played their basketball games here. They played their last season here before they played in the field house. It was a convention center. It was a gathering place.
Well, in December of 1909, the Armory had its initial dedication and celebration for opening it. It's a huge structure, and if you look back in those years at the size of the structure, what a big deal it must have been for the people at that time. All the major political figures of the day were here, and if you really look at the building, it hasn't changed much in all that time.
President Taft was here because I read the clippings. I believe President Roosevelt, Theodore Roosevelt, was here, and I'm not sure the other presidents, but I believe 5 presidents. Either they were serving as president or they were former presidents.
Right.
Because this was the meeting place before the field house, the College of Puget Sound field house was built in 1949.
Well, it's there's probably 4 or 5 battalion-type headquarters and subordinate units actually located in this armory. I don't really know what the square footage is, but in essence it's 3 floors and quite a bit of office space, open drill floor space, storage space. So there's quite a few troops that actually operate out of here.
And I'm so appreciative. It may have been fate, you know, who knows? There may have been a variety of reasons for the National Guard to ensure that this building be retained. But it's a part of Tacoma's history, and it's an important part of Tacoma history, and we want it to continue in that regard.